Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Stories. Here's the question. Where does your money go? What are you doing with your money? And do you even have a clue? Welcome back, Michelle.
Hello.
Stick with us here, guys, because we're going to talk about some stuff that may seem really, really basic, but yet I think with a lot of us in today's society, there's just a huge disconnect. Right? So we were talking about like budgeting, buying a home, right? What's important here, Michelle, when it comes to money?
Understanding where it all goes, what you spend, how much you have.
Yeah. I think, it's really interesting because like when I really think about it, like, and it's definitely changed over time. So do you balance your checkbook?
I don't.
But did you at some point?
A long time ago. Yeah, but not now.
Okay. So I do. I use software for it. It's not like the old school way. And I think I learned the basics of that in school, probably in high school. I don't know if they even teach that kind of stuff anymore. I suspect that they don't because my sons don't have any clue what that means. Because the truth is we can just like log on at any time, right? And we can see what our balances are, what our pending transactions are, right? I don't know. It's just not as tactile, I think, though, when you're looking at it on the screen of your phone or on your laptop, right? And I really believe that a lot of people out here don't really have a clue. I shouldn't say that. Don't have a thorough understanding of where their money goes on a monthly basis, right? Paying rent, a mortgage, car payment, that kind of stuff. I think people have a good handle on that, right? The big ones. But then the rest of it, where does it go? And I'll give you a great example. So some time ago, I was going somewhere up the Garden State Parkway and stopped off to use the restroom, and I was in the mood for a coffee. There was a Starbucks there. I go, let me just grab a cup of coffee and a snack. I still had like a couple of hours of driving ahead of me. And I went to pay for it, right? I went to pay for it. Here we go. I went to pay for it. I pulled out a couple of dollars out of my pocket, whatever it was, $5, $10, I don't know. And they're like, oh, this is cashless. I'm like, okay. I take out my card. And I tap the machine or swipe the machine or whatever, right? They're all a little different. And I paid for it. And they go, okay, thanks. And I'm like, can I have a receipt, please?
A what? A what?
And the clerk, barista, whatever that person was, kind of looked at me like a deer in headlights. Yeah. Like, what does that even mean, right? And had to get someone over to print a receipt. And I got it. I saved it for this conversation. I got the receipt and it was $5.40, right? So nothing that should make or break most people watching this video. However, I did put it in, right? It went on my credit card. I did put it into my system to make sure that it's accounted for properly. And yes, I'm probably an extreme example, but I can see where my money goes. I do that with gas. I do that with basically anything that's not cash. And kind of my mindset is if I don't need to track it, I'd rather just, if I keep $20 in my pocket, I'm good. Like just a cup of coffee. I don't need to track that. But with the business that we're in, I want to track my gas. That's part of our expenses, right? I want to track things that are relevant to the business we're in. So I have a pretty good handle on where my money goes. But the point is, because so much of what we do is paid for with plastic, whether it's credit or debit, doesn't really matter, and we're not keeping score here, we don't really know where it goes.
No, people don't think about it.
We don't, right? Because just swipe, tap, Amazon, whatever, and you don't really think about it. Oh, look, let me see how much I have in the account. Let me see, some basic stuff. And I remember, don't forget, and this, I'll share another story. there's stuff that happens automatically, right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of car payments happen automatically, and mortgage payments and rent payments. There are things, utility things can happen automatically. So I remember when Mason bought his first house, he is
Yeah.
in his first house, his house. He was in there like not that long, and he told me like it was like in there a few months into it, and then like he forgot that his homeowners association fee was coming out automatically, right? Of course it's coming out automatically. It's how most of us set this kind of stuff up. And it didn't bounce or anything, but when he looked at his balance and he was just whatever he was doing or spending on at the time, it caught him off guard because he forgot. Well, I don't want to forget significant expenses. $5 or $10, not that big of a deal. But if you do $5 or $10, 20 or 30 times a month, yeah, it can be a really big deal.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're buying a house, right, or getting ready to buy a house, it's probably a good idea to start getting a handle on where your money goes.
And I think it'll be mind blowing to some people to really look at like what adds up. Like you go to I say Starbucks, but you go to any coffee shop. That's like you said, $5. That $5 will certainly add up. You go out to lunch every day. You go to breakfast every day. Woof.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, exactly. So like I listen and watch a lot of Dave Ramsey, and he talks about, I think it's called the Every Dollar app. This is not an endorsement. I don't even know what the app looks like. I've never looked at it. But what he preaches, and that's important, is he preaches having a budget, right? Knowing what you know your income. Most people, if you're not in our business, you know your income in a given month.
Yeah.
And you kind of have a handle on your expenses. And with that app or other budgeting tools, you can say, okay, I've got my, let's say, rent, car payment, car insurance, electric bill. And then you have, maybe there, food shopping, and then you might have entertainment. And there's different categories for where our money goes. And if you stay within the confines of the budget that you've created, then you know where your money's going.
Yeah.
Or should know, right? If you can stay within that. And that's how you win. That's how you win. I think that just talking to a client the other day, I'm just trying to think of what surrounded that conversation. And we were talking about how in the home buying process right now, besides the credit and making sure all that's stable, we know all that and we coach you through that. It's important to keep trying to save as much as you can, right? Or if you've created a budget, stay within that budget. If you haven't created a budget, you probably do right now. Like you probably need to create that and know where your money is going, because you could be on the 22nd of the month and you could be like,
no money.
Yeah, I'm out of money and I still got another week here and I don't have many groceries left in my pantry, and right? And you just gotta tune in. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody goes now and learns how to balance a checkbook or balance a credit card statement. Although I don't know if I could ever break that habit. I'm just so used to that.
You have that background.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably part of it. Is between education and everything else, I've kind of programmed my mind to work that way. So anybody watching that, if you want some tips, reach out. I could talk numbers and budgeting all day long, but I think that however it works, we're all human, right? Your brain's different than my brain, than that person's brain or that person's brain. It doesn't matter. We're all programmed differently, but at the end of the day, we're all using money to live.
Yeah.
So whatever system works, if it's jars, right? The old jars of this is the vacation fund, and this is, this is whatever. This is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's the old school kind of way, but whatever it is that works for you, who's watching this, and your brain, use that system, because I don't think it's a one size fits all. But at the end of the day, if it gets you to a place that helps you manage your money and sleep better at night,
and get you to your goals, like people have certain goals, like you were saying, even if it's the jars, it's a goal that you're getting to. And if it's a home buying goal, That's huge, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be surprised when we say, hey, there's closing costs. What?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So if it's a home buying goal and you need to save up X number of dollars after talking to your real estate agent and mortgage people, you need X number of dollars. Let's just pick an example. Let's say you realize for what you need to buy,
Yeah.
whatever whatever makes sense. We'll just pick a number. Let's say you need $10,000. It's a low number, but let's just say it's $10,000. And you know that you earn, let's say, $6,000 a month, right? And you look at your expenses and you go, well, I want to buy a house next year and I have no money saved.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get to the point where I have $10,000 in the bank, which will feel pretty darn good too? And you say, I want to be able to do this within a year. You have to budget. You have to look at that and go, okay, let me see what I spend my money on. Let me understand it. And how can I save, in our example, how can I save about $800 a month and slide it over here into this bank account
Without touching it.
Without touching it. Exactly.
Touching it.
Exactly. Maybe you have bonuses coming from the type of work you do. That's cool. Maybe you get tax refunds. You can factor that in. We're all going to be different. Financial situations are going to be different for every human, kind of like a fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be different. But it's important. The way you get there is by understanding it. And similarly, fast forward, I was listening to a guy on the radio the other day, and he wanted to figure out, he was in his early 60s, and he still had a mortgage on his house that was pretty substantial. And he wanted to figure out how within the next 5 years, he can pay off the rest of his mortgage based on what he owes versus what he earns. And he made pretty good money from the conversation. But he obviously lived a pretty extravagant lifestyle too, because he didn't have really any money left over and he didn't work towards paying his mortgage down faster. But that's math, right? So if you want to pay off, let's just do something super easy. Let's say you have $50,000 left on a mortgage, which is pretty small in the big picture. But let's say you want to get that done in the next 5 years. So you have to figure out a way to pay off $10,000 in addition to your mortgage payment. So that's like an extra roughly $800 a month towards your principal to get it paid off in the next 5 years. So a lot of what we're talking about here, Michelle, is not complicated math, right? It's not like the geometry and trigonometry, that calculus, right, from school. This is like literally, here we go, basic calculator math, right? Arithmetic. That's what it is. And I think that you can literally sit down with a piece of paper and a calculator and a pencil and kind of work through those numbers. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but to get to your goals, you got to do that. It doesn't just happen by accident or by gut, right? It just doesn't.
You had touched on something where you said that the gentleman in this scenario made good money and lived like he made good money. So I think people tend to, hey, I'm making more money now, I can do XYZ now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, in the back of your mind, what are your goals, especially if it's home buying? Don't do XYZ, even if you're making more money. Yeah.
We do that. This country that we live in, with lots of cool things to do and see and spend money on, this is just our nature, that as we earn more in life and progress, we live up to that number. We just do. We find ways to spend it. And I'll give you a great example. It happens with housing all the time. And it happened with my first house too, and the home that we're living in now. I remember walking through our first home, which was a modest townhome, I don't know, 1,500 square feet maybe. And I remember walking through there a long time ago and saying, wow, like, we'll never fill this place. Never. It was two of us and a little baby.
Yeah.
And we filled it.
Yeah.
We filled it with another human. So then there were four of us by the time we moved out of there. But I see that with clients. You'll walk through a home and go, I'll never fill this. And then we see it all the time when we go on appointments, when they get ready to sell that house. We fill it. We fill our lives with stuff, right?
Just stuff.
and hopefully experiences too, if that's important to you guys watching this. Experiences in life, in many ways, can be even more fulfilling than stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that we tend to live up to our means. I've spoken to mortgage people that have told me, like, literally, they've because they see all the nitty gritty, right? We don't see all that nitty gritty of the personal finances. It's not our business. But anecdotally, mortgage people have said, look, this particular, these clients I'm dealing with, they've been making six figures for years and years and years, and they don't even have more than a couple $1,000s available in the bank, right? So, and the mortgage person knows their numbers. Like, the mortgage person knows how much rent, right? They know the car payment, but they don't even know what they're spending it on, because you go, well, if they're making, let's just say 10 grand a month, and their rent was 1,500 and their car payment was 500, where's the rest of it going? Right? And that's the question. And that's the whole point of why we wanted to come out here, guys. And Michelle and I wanted to talk to you about this, because it's not just about winning and getting your goal of buying the house or paying that house off early. It's about succeeding, right? There's an expression, how you do anything is how you do everything.
True.
And I really believe there's a lot of truth to that. You have to be so careful. So if you can teach your mind, and finances obviously are a huge piece of our lives. If you can teach your mind and come up with a system that works for you in managing your money, and it's all going to be different, you're going to win. You're going to win. And winning is not, do I have a nicer car than my neighbor? That's not winning. You might think that that's winning. Some of you, it's not.
That's keeping up with the Joneses, and you don't need to do that.
You know what? The truth is, nobody cares. Nobody cares. In this social media world that we live in today, we think people are watching us.
They don't care.
They don't really care.
Yeah.
You do you, and that's it. And do it for nobody else other than the people that you love, including yourself. And then you win. Because then you can sleep well at night. You can feel satisfied that you've reached what you need to reach, or you're going in a direction that you need to go.
Right.
And then you win. I think we're good.
That's our 2 cents on that one.
That's our 2 cents. Guys, thank you for watching. If you like this content, please take a minute and like this video, comment below. Please subscribe to our channel. It really means a lot to us. And we will see you again real soon.